All right, guys, so in this video, I'm going to show you how to turn your Andis Phenom from this to this to this to this or to this and a little bit more. All right, so many of you guys know that the Andis Phenom has a detachable cutting head. What you may not know is that there are more screw holes on the bracket. So let's say you're an Andis guy and you don't like this Phenom blade and you really want to put that old school Andis blade on it, but you see the screw holes are in two different spots. But on the bracket, you have 4 screw holes that's going to allow you to fit a variety of blades. So for that old school Andis taper blade, you take out these 2 screws. The cutting blade from the Andis Master won't fit on the Phenom. So for this one, you'd have to keep the Phenom cutting blade, and there are no holes for the tension springs to go into the cam follower, so you just line it up into the channels, and when you hold it down, just make sure it's in the right position and looks like this and it's not too low. Then you're going to hold that down, you put that old school Andis blade on there, and you see you have the screw holes right there. So you have that old school Andis feel. Now, one thing about Andis is that their blade is bigger, so you'll be stuck on the purple magnetic guard system. And let's say you want to get off that because the plastic is pretty weak, but you don't want to lose this shape. Well, we got an answer for that too. So you take the stationary blade off, and then you're going to pop the cam follower out of the Phenom cutting blade. Now remember how it looks. This bar will always go up top. So we're going to pop this out, and we're going to install the TPOB chunk blade. Now the TPOB chunk blade has a very similar shape from the original Andis taper blade. Difference with this, metal injection molded, oil reservoirs, and has a ceramic cutting blade with oil reservoirs. This helps the machine stay cool and quiet. So we're going to flip it around, and this also has 3 holes, so this cam follower is going to pop right in. Then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put the tension spring in the channels. We're going to hold it up like that. Put the blade on. Use the same screws. And now we're getting chunky. And once you have this blade size on it, which is like the standard blade size, Stylecraft, JRL, Wahl, they all have pretty much the same size. You'll be able to use Wahl premium guards, Stylecraft dub guards, babyless guards, and the list just goes on and on. But let's say you're like, you know what? I also have a magic clip. It would be really cool if this machine could be a magic clip as well. So you say, can I put the blades from the magic clip on it? Well, you sure can. Let's do it. Same process. Take these screws out. Pop the original cam follower out. Take off your magic clip blades. So here's a magic clip stagger tooth blade. And we're going to put the cam follower for the Andis Phenom right in there. Again, just put it in the channels. Hold it in position. Original screws from the Phenom. And look at the way that black and gold matches. And you basically now have a magic clip and an Andis in one. But let's say you want to go crazy and combine the best of both blades between Andis and the Wahl Magic Clip. So you grab your Super Taper X. Look at the shape of the blade on the Super Taper X. Almost the same shape as an Andis taper blade. Almost exactly like the chunk blade. But the cutting blade on this is the stagger tooth blade from the Magic Clip. And you have a T shape like an outliner. And no coating if you don't like coating on it. This is just the standard stainless steel coating. So let's go crazy. And a quick reminder, this little flat part, I call it the bench. Put the bench up and on the back of the cutting blade. Locks right in, look at that. Tension spring in the slots, hold it into position. Put the stationary blade on top. Original screws. And look at that. All right, but now the moment you all been waiting for. Let's see how we get the Echo blade on here. Here's a 360 GZ Echo blade, shallow tooth 2.0 cutter. So you go to take the Echo blade off, but you'll notice there are only 3 holes on the shallow tooth 2.0 cutter. So the Andis Phenom cam follower won't fit on the Stylecraft Shallow Tooth 2.0 cutting blade. But there is a way to make it happen. Here's the Kemei 2373. Now the cutting blade on this is just like the Shallow Tooth 2.0 cutter from Stylecraft. And I'm going to show you them side by side with one key difference, and I'm sure you could guess it. And the key difference is 3 holes on the cutting blade. Now check it out, side by side. Same amount of teeth, same coating. So we're going to take the Kemei cutting blade and we're going to put it on the Phenom cam follower, snap it in, rod it up, hold it down, echo blade, and now you have the echo blade on the Andis Phenom. But I know what you're thinking. It can't crunch, right? There's no way it crunches, right? And if you don't have the Kemei 2373, don't worry, because you could order these blades separate from AliExpress and they're only about 10 bucks shipped. And that will do fine as a replacement for the Shallow Tooth 2.0 cutting blade. But maybe you're a JRL guy, goes to Onyx, same blades, and you want the fade blade from JRL on there. Well, fair enough. Let's do it. So you take the cam follower from the Andis Phenom and put it on the JRL cutting blade. JRL fade blade on the Andis Phenom, sounding crispy. So being that the Andis Phenom has a detachable cutting head, that definitely adds for some flexibility and being able to change your machine into different clippers very quickly. But the only downside is each detachable cutting head for the Andis Phenom costs 50 bucks. But let me introduce you to the VGR 137, which also has a detachable cutting head, which just so happens to seamlessly fit on the Andis Phenom. And there's also a machine just like this called the Kemei 1825, which has a detachable cutting head, which fits on the VGR 137, which also fits on the Andis Phenom. And the VGR and Kemei cutting heads are sold separately on AliExpress for about 20 bucks. And these both come with a fade blade that are the standard side blades, a little bit smaller than the Andis blades, that will fit most guard systems out there. So definitely a cheaper alternative to get more detachable cutting heads for your Andis. The only major difference with the VGR and Kemei detachable cutting heads is that the bracket only has 2 screw holes, so you won't be able to fit the old school Andis blade on there. And one thing I want to mention too is that I've tried a bunch of different detachable cutting heads on here, and I even got original Andis ones that can pop off when you flick this lever all the way up like that. So if you do this, make sure all your detachable cutting heads have a solid snap and don't flick off too easy, because you can close the blades and send them flying. So that's what makes the Andis Phenom a really flexible machine. It's the detachable cutting head and the multiple screw holes in the bracket. So that's pretty much it. A good way to change up the blades on the Andis Phenom, and it's a good machine internally, brushless motor, high torque, high RPMs, and a good runtime. Barber's Lounge, baby.